Sunday on Denver 7 News.
I think that's like the one blessing that has come from this is we were all in it together and it didn't feel like a personal attack.
Neighbors searching for answers after an act of vandalism, while confusing, seems anything but random. And the government is putting Americans in Ukraine on high alert, as a potentially hostile move from Russia could be on the horizon. And take a look at this. Back here at home, folks got a little wild in Steamboat this weekend. The story behind this tradition on the way.
Good morning and happy Super Bowl Sunday to you. We'll get to sports news in a minute. I'm Micah Smith.
And I'm Katie LaSalle. Thank you so much for joining us here for Denver 7 News on this Sunday morning. And boy, what a beautiful day it's shaping up to be. Mostly clear skies across the state. We'll see more melting across the metro as temperatures climb to the 50s this afternoon. Outside this morning, let's take you live from downtown Denver into City Park in Westminster. It's going to stay mostly clear for the rest of the day. Temperatures have started off quite chilly in the upper 20s, but now we're at 35 degrees out at the airport. Winds relatively calm, sustained from the south just at 7 miles per hour, but winds will pick up, especially over the northeastern plains later on this afternoon. No advisories in effect for the metro area today. Temperatures are already in the low 30s into Fort Collins. We're in the single digits and teens from Steamboat Springs into Eagle and Gunnison, so cold early on in the high country, but it will be milder out west later on. Last recorded wind gust near Berthoud Pass at 48 miles per hour. The winds especially strong over the northeastern plains later on this afternoon, with wind gusts reaching up to about 40 miles per hour at times. Out and about here across town today, expect low to mid 50s for our daytime highs downtown through Highlands Ranch into Parker and through much of the metro area. Today, tomorrow, it is going to be dry statewide, but we have our next cold front set to bring snow to the state. I'll tell you more about the timing of that coming up.
All right, sounds good, Katie. 30 people are still looking for answers this morning after they woke up to their tires slashed this weekend. And as Denver 7's Christian Lopez reports, those neighbors feel the police department isn't doing enough.
As you can imagine, people are very upset about this and they want something done. This happened in the San Francisco West neighborhood Saturday morning. Dozens of people had to get their cars towed by replacement tires. They spent hundreds of dollars on this, and people tell us they're frustrated because there's little security and no cameras to capture the activity in the area. They also tell us law enforcement didn't send anyone to investigate Saturday because of the weather.
And it just feels that there's not enough patrolling that's happening or like there's just not enough engagement out here to take these vandalism crimes seriously, because if they're affecting us constantly, it seems like patrolling would be the minimum they could do.
You just heard from one of many residents who were very upset about this. People who live in that area are now taking matters into their own hands and collecting as much evidence as they can, but they do need your help. So if you have any video from this area, call the Lakewood Police Department. I'm Christian Lopez, Denver 7.
Christian, thank you. And looking a little deeper into this, under Colorado law, this kind of vandalism can have serious consequences depending on the amount of damage. Anything more than $300 but less than $750 is a Class 2 misdemeanor. Between $750 and $1,000, a Class 1 misdemeanor, and $1,000 or more in damage is considered a felony. The Denver Police website says the best way to report vandalism is to file a report online so they can track it and save a copy for your insurance company.
Lucky to be alive. That's what police and first responders told one Denver girl after a drunk driver hit her car near Colorado Springs in October. Now the community is helping raise money for her hospital expenses. Brother Down, a nonprofit, stepped in to help Madison Crandall and her family. 4 months later, Crandall is still recovering physically and emotionally.
It was really painful, and you don't really realize how much you use your body until you can't use a part of it. And so just figuring out how to move around and not hurt myself was a whole new thing. Pretty surreal when you have a hospital employees and police officers coming and saying that you shouldn't be alive.
There were 8 people in Crandall's car, and all of them were able to walk away from the accident with non-life-threatening injuries. The drunk driver also survived the crash.
Now to the continued rising tensions on the Ukraine-Russian border.
All private American citizens in Ukraine are now being urged to leave the country immediately as U.S. military leaders feel the threat from Russia's military is increasing.
And here's ABC's Terry Moran in Kiev.
This morning, new reporting that fresh intelligence this week triggered the U.S.'s sudden dire warnings that Russia may have moved up its timeline to attack Ukraine. The Biden administration kicking into gear after an unscheduled meeting of top national security officials Thursday night. The worry? Russia could stage a false flag attack as early as this coming week. The disclosure by the U.S. comes as the world awaits Vladimir Putin's next move after that high-stakes call between President Biden and the Russian president. The two leaders spoke directly for an hour by phone. Biden telling Putin that a Russian invasion would cause widespread suffering, while the Kremlin accused the U.S. of whipping up hysteria. A senior administration official telling ABC News the call was substantive, but there was no fundamental change in the dynamic. The U.S. continues to warn Russian forces are poised to attack.
We are in the window when an invasion could begin at any time, should Vladimir Putin decide to order it.
And once again, the U.S. is aggressively releasing intelligence to try to thwart Putin, claiming to have discovered another Russian plan for a false flag attack.
We are firmly convinced that the Russians, should they decide to move forward with an invasion, are looking hard at the creation of a pretext, a false flag operation, something that they generate and try to blame on the Ukrainians as a trigger for military action.
Some 130,000 Russian troops now line Ukraine's border as Russia continues military exercises. More than 30 warships in the Black Sea conducting massive naval drills, a Russian submarine seen joining those forces. In Ukraine, the U.S. has ordered all non-essential embassy personnel in Kyiv to immediately evacuate, and a growing list of other countries pulling their embassy staff out of Ukraine too.
The risk of Russian military action is high enough, and the threat is imminent enough, that this is the prudent thing to do.
Ukrainian President Zelensky saying all the invasion warnings are creating a frenzy.
And the truth that we have different information. And now the best friend for enemies, that is panic in our country. And all this information that helps only for panic doesn't help us.
But for Americans here, like Los Angeles real estate broker Leon Chernyavsky, who is stuck here waiting for a visa for his Ukrainian wife, the fear is real.
I'm an American who wouldn't leave behind the ones that we loved, the ones that we respect. We go together or we don't go at all.
Back here at home, Community Foundation Boulder County is now getting more than $500,000 to help support victims of the Marshall Fire. The money is going to impact on education and Boulder Jewish Family Services to provide mental health services to those who need it. There will be counselors with special training for times of crisis and coping with trauma. If you'd like more information, you can head to Boulder County's website.
Veterans are still struggling with loneliness, especially because of the pandemic. But there's one group working to change that. How you can support the Compassion Corps after the break.